What is up, folks? Casual Dad here, doing another part of our Whirlwind Warlord deck building guide series. This time we're going to talk about the man himself, Eldrad Ulthran. And as you can see, mine is sitting at level 9, which I'm very proud of. He was one of the ones I got late and was fairly low level, but then I got a very kind of shocking string of lucky drops on the guy, and he ended up powering through and is now one of my highest level warlords, and is legendary no less. So, Eldrad himself is actually the reason I got into Aeldari on the tabletop, so I have a painted model of this guy. Cool character, very interesting, and of course supposedly one of the greatest psychers in the entire 40k universe. Just kind of an interesting backstory. A couple different times for different editions. He has died before, so my original Eldrad model was painted as a ghost, which I really enjoyed. Anyway, his ability in Warhammer Combat Cards is kind of a quirky one. It used to be, when I first started, his ability was, and I barely remember this, it was kind of a counter ready, where like when your opponent readied, your friendly card across would ready in response, which was kind of a weird one. I did enjoy it because it was more kind of the strategic version of his abilities and kind of his advantages of seeing the future. But it was changed because it just wasn't very successful, wasn't very interesting. And because Aeldari are famously psychic heavy, but didn't really have any psychic heavy warlords. So they had to add this guy and give him an adjusted ability to kind of mesh with that. So his current and new ability is, for every psychic attack made on Aeldari card each turn, increase subsequent psychic attacks by 30%. This rule can be triggered by a card only once per turn. Now, just to talk through that, long story short, you can have anywhere between start with 0, but usually in an Eldrad deck, every turn you'll have somewhere between a 30 and 90% bonus to your psychic attack stat. And just to talk through the deck I've got, Warp Surge counts. So if you play a card, it does Warp Surge, and then you follow up with your turn, all of your cards are going to start with a 30% bonus to their attack stats, to their psychic attack stats, which is awesome. And then also Psionic Blast counts as well. So if you have on your board, you have a Warp Surge and then the 2 Psionic Blast cards, if they fit. I don't think they all 3 do. I've got 3 points left on the table. What am I doing? There we go. Silly me. If you have that sitting on the board, then you're going to start your turn. Your first actual psychic attack that turn, assuming it is your turn, will have plus 90% damage psychic attack for every single card on the board. So obviously benefits from being psychic heavy, really benefits from having those cards that do the psychic attack before your turn. And then this guy is a nice ace piece to play, but you want to make sure to play him on your turn, because if this triggers on your opponent's turn, doesn't matter. Yeah, so it does matter if they attack you with a psychic attack, which they probably won't unless they have a huge advantage. So you want to watch out for that. So I've been tweaking with this one, and kind of the challenge here is that it ends up being incredibly powerful. It hits so hard, especially if you kind of, and we'll go ahead and do the deployment here real quick, especially Eldrad himself. He ends up being kind of a headhunter, kind of a brawler warlord, because he comes in at a reasonable health of 245, no defensive abilities, which is a bummer, and he is over 40 points, so he's vulnerable to big game hunter. And again, no shields, no fear, no regen, no nothing. So he's very glassy, but he's got 95 health, plus Inspiring Presence, plus Psychic Link. So if he's on the board with other Psychers, he gets plus 80% to his attack stats if there are 2 other Psychers on the board, in addition to the plus 20% from this, and then in addition further to his bonus ability, like his Warlord ability. So he punches incredibly hard and then dies very quickly. So he's a very challenging warlord to play with, but we're going to go ahead and play some games so you can kind of see how it works and kind of understand it a bit. I will probably lose maybe both of these games. We'll see. I'm going to play 2 just so we can go ahead and see it and kind of talk through each piece here. Now this is both a good and bad matchup. I've also tweaked the deck a little bit, and I will go first. I've tweaked this deck a little bit to make it faster, so my initiative should be higher. So we'll go over here. And now just checking this out. So my Warp Surge card is going to trigger first because it's Warp Surge and triggers first, and then my Psionic Blast will trigger, and that will be these 2 cards. I will start this turn. Oh, well, that's great. Assuming I don't disconnect here, I will start this turn with a plus 60% to base psychic attack stats for all of my psychers on the board, which is pretty significant. And we're going to go ahead and start trying to get kills right off the bat and see what this is. And just to kind of think this through, you're looking at where you're deploying. So this guy will do Warp Surge. Oh, come on. I was just saying the other day how the server connections have generally been better. And generally that's true. I don't know where my connection issues are coming right now. Probably just time of day. It's just sort of the tail end of the workday, and a lot of folks here are probably jumping onto Netflix all at the same time. That's my theory. Maybe there's a loose wire outside or a tree fell on something. We'll see. Anyway, but I can go ahead and talk through this while the screen is up while we're waiting on this. So Warp Surge will trigger, then that Psionic Blast will trigger, so I'll get that flat 60% bonus. And then finally, Trioliorn is going to go, so he will get the 90% bonus. Everything else will get the 60% bonus. And the reason why is that Warp Surge and that Psionic Blast will already trigger the 30% bonus for each of these two cards, so they can't get an additional bonus there. And then Trioliorn going last will just benefit from, he'll only get 60% because it doesn't boost himself. Now looking at this, I already made a mistake because these two are going to go ahead and trigger their plus 30% bonus before I do any attacks. If I wanted both of them to have the full 90% bonus, I would have Trioliorn on the left so that he would go at 60% bonus, which is plenty for him because he hits like a truck. And then these two would benefit from his bonus as well. So the deployment order, left to right, is really, really important for Eldrad and can kind of bite you in the butt. I'm actually going to be able to play this game. We'll see. Can actually bite you in the butt if you are really trying to get the most out of it. But this should be just fine. I think his ability is going to be enough to kill this thing in one shot anyway. Yeah, comfortably. So we'll see a 60% bonus there, 55, 88. You can just see that it does a lot more damage than it says on the tin, and very quickly will power through opposing cards, with the downside being that you are very glassy as well. So you need to get those kills really, really quickly to benefit from this. And I am concerned about any matchup against a ramping card, so Avatar is tough, but he's a better match than he could be. So Warp Surge is gone, so I'm looking at just a 30% bonus. This is my second Psychic attack. Now I'll have a 60% bonus, which will easily take that guy out. So when the opportunity arises, when I'm redeploying cards, I will probably move Trioliorn to the left, assuming he survives. So that he can hit first, because he's the hardest hitter, and that is kind of a tough balance. Do you have your hardest hitter hit first and benefit the least from the bonus, or do you have him hit last and really tank it and blow out the absolute highest possible bonus shot? And it can go either way. So deck is getting thin here, but I do feel fairly confident about this. I've seen quite a few reasonably high cost cards go out, so I should comfortably be able to win this. And now I've got Inspiring Presence on the board, which also stacks with all of this to give me just really devastating psychic attacks. Now I'm still at the point where I'm against decks that are under-leveled, so I've got an edge here that should be relatively straightforward. And if I am lucky, that's just the Avatar himself on the board. So this is tricky. Now I can either go for max Psychic. We're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to play it safe. I could either go for max Psychic, which will practically guarantee that Trioliorn will punch through this guy's shields, like all the way through, which I probably won't here. Or I can play it safe and not play with the Avatar too much. So I made the safe choice to go with... Yeah, okay. And Clayvolch doesn't have the power to one-shot Eldrad yet, or Trioliorn. God, that's a tough name to say, so that's good. And then also Yvrain. Oh yeah, I love it. So you get the defensive hit with the Vizark. Now I love the Vizark because he's such a beefcake. And in this case, I don't have a ton of melee in this deck, but the big reason you take him, even at his points cost, is that he's got Taunt and then has a lot of hit points. He is on the pricier side, which is tough, but it still ends up working out kind of in your favor. Especially since you really want Taunt cards to count in a Eldrad deck, because they need to tank actual fire instead of go down quickly like would be fine in a Rakarth deck. So there we go. That was one game. I got a bunch of lag in the beginning, so we're going to try to crank out one more. Just to go ahead and show it. Yeah, and we'll see if I can get my deployment right this time, although that did work out. And you really want to try to maximize Eldrad's ability to maximize that cannon aspect of the glass cannon, so you're mostly cannon, less glass. So that's another reason why I have the Vizark in here and why I put the other Taunt card in here. Ooh, that's a interesting mashup. Now I do have Psionic Blast and hard hitting, so we'll go ahead and get this right. I am still going first, which is great. And I am going to deploy... Ooh. Now I want to kill that as fast as possible, so we're going to go ahead and do this. And that guy doesn't necessarily matter. So here we've switched it around a bit. Trioliorn, oh god, bummer. Okay, it's only a very small deck, so he's got either Taunt or Medicae in there too. Ugh. Now this is scary because, of course, I've got to deal with the shields on Akaran himself at the end. But look at that insane amount of damage. I just almost killed that thing in one hit. In return, I'm going to take a whole bunch of damage back, but I think that was probably worth it. Yeah, alright, so that's the melee kill, which is a bummer. But we will take it. Couldn't do... Man, here's a tough call. So I can take the taunt to keep my cards alive, which I think I will take. At least a little bit longer, because I'm pretty sure with that small of a deck, I'm probably still going up against... what's his face? The Tigurius will probably be in there too. Good news here, though, is that the Visarch is beefy enough. He should keep my big psychers alive. Maybe. That was a bummer. Yeah, okay, sweet. Which will let me take out both of these guys next turn. I may actually kill all three of them before Akaran drops. And this, again, is I've got an edge on levels. These guys are a little bit lower. Ooh, but not that much lower. Oh, do I risk it? Do I drop Eldrad himself? Ooh, let's do it. And then this is going to be pretty fun, because I'm going to try to punch straight through Akaran's shields. All right, and now I've got... He did already use it. Yeah. So triple psychic bonus. 3 psychers on the board. This guy could die before I get my turn. We'll see what the Space Marine player does. Sweet, okay. So what he should have done, in my personal theory, is he should have dropped... Oh, it wouldn't have killed him anyway, but okay. Nice. All right, and if he leads with ranged, that gives me a chance to punch through a shield. And then I'll go through another shield. And now here's where it gets tricky, though. Oh, I'm doing so much psychic damage. So already have the 30% bonus. When your rain goes, it'll go with a 60% bonus. So Eldrad should just kill Akaran right through those shields. And then go down. Oh, God, that's so much power. Okay. So I'm really glad we got to see that one, because that was a case where that was Eldrad shooting at his like maximum power, because he already had the 60% bonus from 2 friendly cards attacking, had his Inspiring Presence up, and had a couple readies up there too. So you saw that just how hard he hits. I just killed Akaran, the double kill through his shields. And he was relatively low level, but still, that is a hard hit. And that is both the beauty and the pain of Eldrad, is just he hits so hard. But of course, both of those were kind of skin on my teeth. Like that one turn a different way, and I would have been in real trouble. So once you get him to high level, Eldrad is very powerful, but your decks are going to be thin and very, very fragile. So if you go up against a bad matchup, it'll just ruin your day. If you don't, he's a lot of fun. So I really enjoy the Warlord. Hopefully this is helpful. And let me know if you have a really top-notch Eldrad build. I'd love to hear about more and try more. But I'm pretty happy with how this one's working. The double taunt has been really effective in keeping my heavy hitters alive. The Inspiring Presence has been really good. And Yvraine herself is hitting hard enough to really kind of justify having her in there. So there it is. And yeah, until next time.